A squad announcement overnight, which is making all the news in Indian cricket. India have announced their 18-man squad for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. What does Sanjay Manjrekar think of it? Let's ask the man himself. Sanjay, no Kuldeep, no Shami, three uncapped players. What are your first thoughts?
First thoughts is the size of that squad. It's a great time to be an India player because 21 players are going to Australia. During our time, it was at the most 15 or 16, and we used to share rooms. All those 21 players will get a single room. That's irrelevant. That is not what you're looking for. My thing is, Shami, Kuldeep, unfortunate with the injuries, but Indian team and Indian test talent is somewhat in transition. Ishant Sharma is gone. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is not part of the team anymore, and Shami injured. So we were expecting some young players to get the nod, and it's a good place, Australia, to start off as a young seam bowler.
Yes, I'll specify to our viewers. Sanjay says 21, accounting for the three travelling reserves. India going with three additional pacers, despite having five plus a pace bowling all rounder. That is where our conversation needs to go. So, Sanjay, the pace mix in the absence of Mohammed Shami. You have a Harshit Rana, you have a Nitish Kumar Reddy as a seam bowling all rounder. Are you satisfied with the pace complement?
A little surprised that Prasidh Krishna has come back into favor because I saw him in South Africa and poor fellow didn't quite look the part. He actually struggled on very, very helpful pitches, and the bowlers around him just looked a lot better. And I thought it will be a while before he gets a nod again. Yash Dayal had come into the mix, and there's a lot of things to like about Yash Dayal. The most important thing is the proposition that the batters get from him. It's like India have all these right arm medium pacers, and then you would have had a Yash Dayal who pitches the ball up a lot. And those are the kind of bowlers that you want in Australia. You think pace and bounce, and a lot of young bowlers make the mistake of pitching the ball a little short. Yeah, Yash Dayal I would have liked just so that the combination would have been a little better. Surprised by the inclusion of Prasidh Krishna, but good luck to him.
Right now, when you examine those three pacers outside of Bumrah and Siraj, Sanjay, Prasidh Krishna has only played those two tests in South Africa. Akash only played at home this year. Harshit Rana completely new to the setup. Any combination of three quicks that India pick as their 11 will involve at least one seamer with limited or no experience. How big a challenge will that be?
I think that tends to happen. If you look at every tour that India has been overseas, you would have one player who is playing one of his first, test matches or on his first tour as well. And that happens to all teams. And very rarely do you get these days, four bowlers or five bowlers with all of them having a lot of experience. But I like Harshit Rana. Whatever we've seen of him, I think he's a good pick for Australia. Akash as he has unraveled in front of us, I feel that he needs to put in a little more with what he does as his natural bowling style, which will be useful in Australia, the kind of length and the seam bowling that he does, a bit like Mohammed Shami, but he just has to put a little more. Shami was effective because there were great risks behind the ball, and just he got more out of the pitches. It's a fallacy to think that you go to Australia and just land the ball there and the pitch will do everything for you. In fact, it does lesser than what it does in South Africa. You've got to hit that deck there. So I want Akash to do that. So I think they'll be okay. Bumrah Siraj will carry the burden, but I think it's one of those trips where India might be looking to also use spin a little more purely because Shami is not in the mix. If it was Shami, Siraj, Bumrah, you wouldn't look further than those three seamers and just have one spinner.
Right. So that's the five outright fast bowlers. There's also the seam bowling all rounder, which is always such an important proposition on overseas trips. It's Nitish Kumar Reddy who gets the nod there ahead of Shardul Thakur. Do you see him fitting as a number eight, being India's fourth seamer and offering more with the bat?
Only if it is an out and out seaming pitch where you can't imagine having two spinners in the side and you see that pitch over, say, 4 days, and you think even on the 4th day, there'll be nothing much for the spinner. So that is when India will not play two spinners and go with a fourth seamer. And that seamer, they might as well go with somebody like Nitish Reddy because batting is going to be a huge, huge concern and challenge for India. They bat well, they'll be able to win a few test matches. So while they're looking to have uh, that seam component and attack via seam, that fourth seamer will have to be a Nitish Reddy.
So then, all things considered, Sanjay, the lack of experience in a lot of the fast bowlers making the trip, the jitters that may have been felt as far as your batting confidence goes, do you imagine India likelier to have a spin bowling all rounder as the number eight, as opposed to a pace bowling all rounder?
The pitch will dictate that. As I said, if there's nothing there for the pitch, in the pitch for the spinner, I don't see a second spinner. But if it's an out and out seaming pitch, and India have gone with just one spinner, mostly on their recent trips to England and Australia, and Jadeja has got the nod. But this time, I think there'll be a lot of discussion before playing that one spinner, because Washington Sundar has come up and is a young bowler, tall bowler, and pitches where there's going to be a little bit of turn and bounce, they might think of Washington Sundar as well. Plus the track record that he has. He's already played a couple of very good innings in Australia.
Yeah, curious you say that because on the last trip, the tests in Melbourne and Sydney, India did go in with both Jadeja and Ashwin. And then in Gabba, they didn't have any spinner left. Washington Sundar played and played quite a role. And even if you think of Perth, which is where the series is starting, famously in 2018, India had gone without a spinner. And Nathan Lyon then had played a match winning hand for Australia. So India can consider that mix.
Uh, I think, if you look at recent times when India has been to England, very rarely Ashwin and Jadeja have played together or to South Africa or Australia. So that hasn't happened much in the past because India was so confident about the quality that they had in their bowling attack because of the three seamers. Siraj was bowling superbly. Bumrah was, perfection personified, and there was Mohammed Shami, so they could afford to go with one spinner and have a little more batting depth. Now, because Siraj's form has dipped a little bit, there's no Shami. I think there'll be a little more, focus on the spinners, and they might play two spinners irrespective of the pitch because there is a little more quality available there rather than, look at seam.
So, taking that point, Sanjay, how big a miss does Kuldeep Yadav become? He is not going to be part of this tour. If India wanted to consider a second spinner in certain tests, you would have thought he would be high up in the pecking order.
Yes, and as I said, it's going to be a very difficult decision for the team management out of the four spinners. If Kuldeep Yadav was there, who would they have picked purely on current form? Uh, but yes, Kuldeep Yadav have maintained all along. In India, may be dispensable because of the kind of help spinners have. So Mitchell Santner or somebody who bowls quick enough gets wickets. But when you play in Australia, you need a spinner with some skills in the air, a bit of bounce as well. A wrist spinner has always done well in Australia. So yeah, Kuldeep Yadav will be a huge miss. But considering India's reluctance to play Kuldeep Yadav, it's not like one main batter is missing or a Bumrah is missing. Where you would think, wow, that's a huge setback because Kuldeep Yadav has not played regularly for India. It's almost like India is used to playing without Kuldeep Yadav, despite his exceptional skills.
All right. There is a lot more that can be dissected, but we still have close to a month. So I'm sure we'll get the chance to pick Sanjay Manjrekar's brains closer to the test match. Thank you for the moment, Sanjay, for dissecting the
Thank you.
squad for us.